Hey co-stars, welcome to another episode of Generation Films. My name is British Ben, and if you have been watching the Book of Boba Fett like me, you probably have loads of questions like how heavy are the Hutts and would they be able to eat for free at the Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas? Now Jabba the Hutt is supposedly 3,000 pounds in weight, that's according to StarWars.com, and if that is true, then that's great. Free burgers for him in Las Vegas. But I don't think they really thought it through, because in the Book of Boba Fett, we actually get to see a little bit more of an indication on the body weight of a Hutt. You see the twins being carried on this litter by 18 people. Now these guys look like they're being worked pretty hard. So I'm guessing each person is carrying around 100 pounds in weight, so that would be 1,800 pounds in total. And then let's assume that this platform itself weighs about 500 pounds, so that would leave each Hutt at 650 pounds each. That's it. Free burgers. All right, now let's get into what this video is actually about. So last week in the Book of Boba Fett, we saw Boba striking a deal with various factions on Tatooine for them to remain neutral while he takes on the Pike Syndicate. So in this video, we are going to go through all of these different parties that hold some sort of power on the planet. This is all the factions of Tatooine explained. So first up, we have the only two groups that were indigenous to the planet, and that is the Jawas and the Tuscan Raiders. Now the Jawas wore moisture-regulated robes that they would not take off for their whole life, and the robes had multiple hems that would unravel as they grew, so basically the robes grew with them. No one knew what Jawas actually looked like under the robes, but people said that they had a sort of wet animal type odor, so that kind of suggests the appearance of something like a rat.
Dated a Jawa for a while. They're quite furry, very furry.
And Jawas were scavengers who roamed the desert in huge sand crawlers looking for machinery and droids to sell. They weren't really that threatening, but they would steal your stuff if you weren't careful, so don't take a nap in the desert at night. Now we have the Tuscan Raiders, also called the Sand People.
I don't like sand.
And the Sand People don't like you, Anakin. Now they were extremely territorial, tribal people who, like the Jawas, you never saw their real appearance. Maybe that's a Tatooine thing, you just cover yourself up for your whole life to get away from the extreme heat of the sun. Anyway, they regarded all water as sacred and often raided settlers' moisture farms. Tuscans also got a lot of their hydration from the milk of black melons that they would get prisoners to dig for. It seems the milk had some medicinal properties and it was also somewhat addictive.
Take the black melon, will help you recover. It takes some getting used to. Time you start to crave it.
And Tuscans enjoyed pastimes such as camping, dancing around the fire, and woodwork. Tuscan territory was out in the desert and they didn't really venture into the cities. But even in the desert, they did have to compete with rival factions, like our next one. So the faction out in the desert that competed with the Tuscan Raiders were the Kintan Striders. They were a speeder bike gang. They had settled on Tatooine from the planet Kintan, and initially they had been loyal to Jabba the Hutt, but now Jabba was gone. They were kind of out on their own and they competed with the Tuscans for raiding moisture farms to get water, and also fought with the Tuscans for the right to protect other groups passing through the desert, ultimately killing the tribe of Tuscans who had taken in Boba Fett. Yeah. Bad idea. So what did happen to the Hutts? Well, Jabba the Hutt had ruled Tatooine until he was mercilessly killed by the rebel scum Princess Leia. After his death, he left a power vacuum, and his cousins, the twins, initially wanted to take over the territory that was previously controlled by Jabba. But the mayor of Mos Espa had promised that territory to the Pike Syndicate. Now at this time, the Hutts were not in the strong position that they had once been in, since Darth Vader had killed the entire Hutt Council. And now even Jabba was dead too, so when the twins heard about the Pike Syndicate, they actually decided to leave Tatooine and relinquish their claim. So who exactly are the Pike Syndicate? Well, the Pike Syndicate almost completely controlled the production of raw spice in the galaxy. Spice, in its several different forms, was the dominant recreational drug. And this spice was mined in the spice mines of Kessel by slaves such as Wookiees. We actually see the mines in the movie Solo. The Pikes would take the spice from Kessel and smuggle it to Coruscant on various freighters. But what were the Pikes doing on Tatooine? Well, at this time, the Pikes' power in the galaxy had waned, so they may have seen Tatooine as an easy yet valuable target. You see, Tatooine was on the Triellus trade route, one of the routes that made up the Spice Triangle that had been controlled by the Hutts. Well, now Jabba was gone and the twins were not strong enough to challenge them. The Pike Syndicate decided to move in on Tatooine in large numbers. Thus, they presented the biggest threat to Boba's claim on Jabba the Hutt's throne on Tatooine. So he called a meeting with 3 other groups who had also previously been loyal to Jabba. You had the Aqualish, you know, those guys who had a butt for a chin. After Jabba's death, they had taken control of the Mos Espa Workers District. Then you had the Klaantoonian crime family who now controlled the Mos Espa spaceport. And then you have the Trandoshans who were collecting protection money in the Mos Espa city center, and they were led by Doc Strassi, who had worked directly under Jabba the Hutt when he was around. And now we have one more faction, and that is the Mods. Now, the name is kind of a joke because it comes from the fact that they modify their bodies at mod parlors, kind of a Star Wars version of the Borg, but less scary. But the style is actually based off of the mod subculture of 1960s Britain. You can see the bikes they ride in Star Wars are very similar to the kind of scooters ridden by the mods back in the day. And these guys start working for Boba after he resolves a dispute about water prices in Mos Espa. And that is our list, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Tell us which one's your favorite down in the comments below. Do check out Raid Shadow Legends, the sponsor of this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.